So my name is Sanjay Vakil. I am the founder of LuckyCal, and LuckyCal is an application that works with calendar services. So the best way to tell you about it is to tell you a story. What happened is when I was coming out to this conference, I went and put in my calendar Google I/O at the Moscone Center in San Francisco. And what LuckyCal did is looked at that, figured out where San Francisco was, and then it went to Facebook and a couple of other places and figured out where my friends were that lived in the San Francisco area and put them on a map for me. And then, and this is really cool, it looked at my iTunes data and it said, these are the bands that are playing in the San Francisco area while you're there. And it actually found out that Prodigy is playing here tonight. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to see the show because I'm on the red eye. So it looks at the calendar information and it figures out where you're going to be and figures out other stuff you can or should be doing while you're there.
So you chose to use the calendar API to create your app. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to this technical decision to do that?
So it turns out calendars are a funny part of the world where there's a tremendous number of people using them, there's a lot of interest in them, but nothing really cool has happened for a very long time there. Google Calendar sort of came out of the blue and allowed you to do things with calendars that most other calendar clients simply don't allow you to do. A couple of them are that it allows you to put events back up on someone's calendar for them to see. And that's a capability that's sort of fundamental to what LuckyCal does. We don't want to pollute your calendar necessarily with these new events. Instead, we create an independent calendar personalized to you and allow you access to that. And Google Calendar allows us to do that very efficiently. Trying to do that in other calendar clients has been a bit of a challenge.
So as developers, we really value being able to share war stories and lessons from technical challenges. Can you tell us about one particularly difficult period of development that you faced and how you approached this technical challenge?
So the technical challenge I faced was actually on a slightly different project, but was all Google Calendar anyhow. We were actually one of the first people to build a calendar, a gadget, a straight up iGoogle gadget. This was a couple years ago now. And it turns out that what gadgets really want to be are a single URL that everybody talks to, a single location to be installed, and away they go. Unfortunately, this doesn't allow you any mechanism for personalization. So what we ended up doing, I had this moment where suddenly the clouds parted and I realized everything's just a URL. The gadgets are just URLs. And so I constructed a URL on the fly, which was specific to the user in question. And then we'd look up their credentials based on that. And what I've learned since then is that the gadget actually got fairly popular, had tens of thousands of users, and instead of being a single entry in the Google Gadget database, it ended up being 30,000 entries because each of them was a unique URL. But it worked beautifully. People were very happy with it. So the ambient clock, which never actually got built, but the software prototype of it is actually still up and running.
So what are the benefits to your app of using the Calendar API?
So the benefits to our app for using the Calendar API, there's a couple of them. I want to focus on one, which is that calendars are sort of gnarly beasts that have a lot of history to them. And in particular, one of the places that they're a little bit dodgy is dealing with repeating events. So repeating events are, I do this every Tuesday, or I do this every third Wednesday of the month. And there's a language that's been created for calendars to describe this. They're called R rules, repeating rules. And they're used by the LuckyCal standard, which is actually RFC 2445. It's awful. It's a terrible, gnarly thing to try and implement. It's full of edge cases, it's full of weird conditions. Different clients deal with them differently. The repeating rules are slightly off, so you can have stuff like, I want to have this on every Tuesday, oh, but this is Christmas, so I'm going to delete just this event. Dealing with those sort of edge cases has been is sort of a very tricky thing to deal with. One of the nice things about in particular the Calendar Data API is there are different views of the feeds that are available. And one of the feeds is just do all the work for me and just tell me what it is that I need to do during this window of time. What events actually fall during this window of time? And using that saved us a tremendous amount of work because we throw all of the decoding of this bizarre language over to the Google servers and let them do all the hard work, and we just get the answers back.
So how has using the Calendar API reduced the amount of work for you? And could you please elaborate on how this has happened?
So the amount of work that we've had to do to make LuckyCal work in the Google Calendar environment is significantly less than we've had to do working with other calendar clients. You know, it's a little bit funny. People think of calendars and they immediately think, my calendar is Outlook or my calendar is Google Calendar. We tend to view the world as having calendar clients and then calendar data, much like you'd have a web client and web data. The Google Calendar client has been by far the easiest to work with in a way that is secure, which is important because calendar data is intensely personal, and in a way that allows us to do some fairly advanced stuff. As a particular example, because it's a web native client, we can actually turn around and place links in the events. So you can see the event, it can have a map in it, it can have a link out to additional things that are going on in town. We can create a semi-structured, rich event there. And that capability simply isn't available in other calendar clients. So that sort of capability is one of the things we take advantage of a lot.
Okay, so last question is, do you have any feature suggestions or things you'd like to see in the Calendar API?
So stuff I'd love to see in the Calendar API, one of the things that LuckyCal is pushing towards is to make interacting with the calendar a conversation rather than being simply a dead repository of data. I want it to be the case that when I say I'm going to San Francisco, I don't just get a reminder the night before saying, hey dude, you're going to San Francisco tomorrow. I want it to go out and tell me, hey, this is what's going on there, this is what's, these are bands that are playing, these are friends that will be there, these are contacts that will be there, customers that will be there, and so on. And LuckyCal does all that, but there's a latency involved in it generating that information, which is based on how quickly we can get updated, newly created, and modified events from Google Calendar out to our servers to do that processing. So one of the things that would be tremendous for us is real-time notification when an event changes or when a new event is constructed. And whether that's an XMPP stream or if it's a ping server running around doesn't really matter. But I'd love for the conversation to actually become close to real-time. I'd love to have a situation where, I type in a change to my schedule and seconds later, ideally sub-seconds later, I can come back with a response and say, oh, if you're going on this week, the Sox are going to be playing. Do you want to get tickets to that? If I move the event 3 days earlier, I'll find out I can't get tickets to the game and I'll book a different trip. That sort of interactivity is going to require a step beyond what the calendar and fundamentally the G-Data APIs provide right now.
Okay, well thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.